何度見ても辛いな。
教中お察しします。シャノンさん、鍵を頼みます。お亡くなりになられたとはいえ、奥様はレディーです。私には触れることができません。
はい。
Shana nodded sharply, her expression filled with a sense of duty. George, Goda, and Shannon had broken a suitable window, and were inside the chapel. Since they really hadn't wanted to break one, they had searched for another way in, just in case. But, in the end, they only proved once again that there was nowhere that anyone could slip in through, and emphasized further how inscrutable was the chapel's locked room. Inside the chapel, time had stopped since they had left earlier. Of course, even George could not approach that horrible Halloween party again. I mean, it was only natural, because it made him remember again the sadness of losing both his parents at once. And Goda, thinking of the possibility that their bodies might have changed in some horrible way, now that half a day had passed, didn't want to let George approach. Shannon followed Goda's instructions, and approached the party table. Normally, Shannon might have resented having another dirty job forced on her, but now she could truly understand Goda's mental state. Despite Goda's prodigious skill, he had gotten into trouble, lost a job, and been left out in the streets. And then Natsuki had given him a new life. Even though he had just been a casual employment for Natsuki, Goda must have felt that it was a turning point in his fate. Huh. Those around Goda could see that he felt a special kind of loyalty to Natsuki. So he probably didn't want to lose that feeling, even though she was dead. Alright. Now that half a day had passed, the bodies of Natsuki and the rest had changed completely. Small bugs that had sniffed out the smell of death had started to gather. It really wasn't something you could look at directly. Because of her long experience as a servant, Shannon had an idea of which pocket Natsuki had kept the key to her room in. Probably in this pocket. Her guess didn't fail her. Just by touching the outside of that pocket, she was immediately able to feel it. Alright, well, let's get to it. Shannon held the key up high, showing the others that it had been found. As George and Goda watched her, their eyes opened wide. That wasn't the expression Shannon was expecting, so it startled her. Oh no! Because Shannon had noticed. George and Goda, watching from afar, had been able to notice it first. Because when Shannon had held the key up high, a blizzard of gold leaf had billowed up from beyond the table. Oh no, this isn't good. Shannon! There were countless gold butterflies. Because it was the first time George had seen them, to him, they might have looked fantastical. But Goda already knew. He knew that those gold butterflies, far from being beautiful, held sway over something disastrous. And that gold swelled, trying to suck Shannon in.
Shannon-san! Hashite!
Shannon also realized that she was about to be swallowed up by the gold butterflies. She ran unsteadily, her expression still shocked. She did. The gold butterflies danced around Shannon in unison. They grouped together. They tried to swallow her up.
Shannon! So, nanda kore wa? Kore ga kimi tachi no itteta Ogon no chou nano ka?
Of course. As I thought, they are the next targets.
Hayaku soto e! Koitsu ra me! Kuso! Kuso!
George and Goda rushed up to Shannon, driving off the group of butterflies. And while the butterflies were scattered, they ran towards the broken window. However, they needed good footing to get out of the window, which was surrounded with shards of broken glass. When they had entered, there had been enough time to prepare for that, but now there was none.
扉から出よう。足場を探してる時間なんかない。開かない。硬い。貸して。くそ、このオンポロが。
ジョージ様、お早く。くそ、なめるな。
Gata took off his jacket, swinging around and scattering the group of butterflies. But he was vastly outnumbered. It was doubted they even bought them a short amount of time. George struggled with a virtually broken handle. Its age showed, and it didn't turn well. Brute force alone won't do it. It needs the right angle or some trick.
George様! くそー! この化け物どもが!
Just then, Gora saw it. He was seen by it. In other words, their eyes met. On top of the party table. No. Floating above it, backed by a stained glass window, laughing. The figure of the witch. He saw the figure of the witch, laughing in the center of the gold whirlwind, allowing the gold butterflies to attend to her whims. It should have been Gora's first meeting with her, but he knew her at a glance. Just like the other servants had said, this was certainly, the witch of the porter herself.
そろそろ晩餐の時間ではないか。すでにわらわはこの屋敷のホストである。そなたらを素晴らしきディナーで歓待しなくてはならぬというもの。おあつらえ向きに3人ではないか。これは実に好都合。
うわ
あ、開いた。
All right.
ゴーダさん、早く。ベアトリーチェ様。
足を止めてもよいのか。ここがそなたらの墓場にふさわしいというなら、それもよかろうぞ。かつての主の傍らにて死後も仕えたいというその心意気はたたえようぞ。
The golden whirlwind enshrouding the witch burst. It was like an evil hand had literally spread its fingers and was trying to attack them. The group of gold butterflies attacked with a whoosh sound.
急ぐんだ。足を止めちゃいけない。
George's voice brought Shannon and Goda back to themselves. Standing here now would be the same as a frog being stared down by a snake. They had to resist. They had to fight this incarnation of the new, brutal and frightening order that had enveloped Rokenjima. There was no time to take out their umbrellas. The three of them dashed out into the pouring rain. They never realized because they didn't turn around, but the gold butterflies apparently couldn't handle the rain too well, and this hampered their ability to chase after the three. Alright, well, that's giving them enough time. Let's go! To Natsu's room! The three people ran from their golden pursuers and flew into the mansion.
愉快。ポーでなくては面白くない。
They unlocked the door and flew into the room. A bit of the scent from Natsu's favorite gentle incense remained in the room. However, there was no time to let that calm them now.
どこにあるんだ。宝物箱の中って言ったっけ。
話に聞いただけです。実際にどこにあるかまでは。
多分お化粧台かベッドの脇にあるんじゃないかと思います。
Shannon claimed that because of her woman's sense. But in the corner by the bed, there was only an incense burner, a half-read novel, and a pair of glasses. But the dresser was elegant and had many drawers, and it would be understandable if she had kept some of her valuables there. He began to violently open each one of the drawers. Well, I doubt that Natsuki would have any problem with that at this point. Alright. He had to hurry. He couldn't actually hear footsteps, but he had a feeling that the witch was approaching. Alright, let's see. Where could the mirror be? Let's see if that mirror is actually gonna have like any effect on Beatrice. At least I'm gonna learn that, hopefully. He had a feeling that her left was approaching. He pulled out the drawers one by one and examined their contents. Every small box or makeup looked like a treasure box, and the amount of effort it would take to inspect all of them made him feel a little dizzy. At a glance, it looked slightly larger than a music box. When shaken, it rustled, as though very small objects were inside. But it was locked and wouldn't open. God damn it. How lucky we are that it may be that the mirror is inside there and we need another key. Yeah, that's true. Goda looked all over the room, trying to see if there was some tool they could use. And he noticed the door, which had been left open ever since they had entered. He approached the door to close it, and noticed the abominable shadows of people approaching from beyond the darkness in the hole. No, the phrase shadows of people wasn't right, because that referred to human shadows. You cannot call the shadows of beings that aren't human shadows of people. They're coming. Goda's voice trailed off. It was a shock from seeing a procession of those not of this world. He was a servant, so he knew all the servants that worked for the Oshiromiya family. But he didn't know about these. Oh no. Oh, they were definitely servants. Not of this world, that's for sure. They weren't servants working for Oshiromiya Kinzo or Oshiromiya Kraus. They were new servants, who worked for the new master of the mansion, the Golden Witch Beatrice. Red goat's heads and bright red boiled eyes of lava. As the new master laughed loudly and trimly directed 6 of the new servants. He saw her pierce the darkness as she came. Of course, she was clad in the gold butterflies that were her symbol. Goda hurriedly closed the door and locked it. However, the instant he locked it, he returned to normal. Just as though it had been knocked back by a spring or something. What? It almost gave the illusion that some prankster on the other side of the door was opening it every time he closed it. Ah, goddammit. This isn't the time for a Looney Tunes routine here. We gotta act fast. Distance-wise, they shouldn't have reached the other side of the door yet. Then who? How? It feels just like playing with a broken toy. It was like the witch could see Goda's frantic effort through the door. Even as he struggled, their footsteps continued to approach. not just footsteps, but their breath too could be heard. Gora gave up on the lock and rammed the door with his shoulder, making it lock his own large body.
ジョージ様、早く早く早く。
ジョージ様、これはどうでしょう。
レターオープナーか。そっちの方がいいね。貸して。万年筆じゃうまくいかない。
Josh took it and once again dug into the crack under the lid of the treasure box. It looks like it's working.
早く早く。
Pressure from across the door grew even stronger. Gora screamed. It wasn't a war cry for this test of strength. He was terrified. He was simply terrified that, except for a single wooden door, he would be touching something not of this world. But he was still lucky. He wasn't touching them directly, because they were on the other side of the door. So it was natural that if he did touch them directly, Gora's cry would turn from something brave into a shameful, and a very real scream that would make glass shatter. But Gora couldn't believe what was right before his eyes. Going for the door, an arm. An arm. That's the way it was sticking through the surface of water. Oh no. The stakes can easily go through the door. This isn't good. Slipped through, as though it was perfectly natural, and struck the back of Gora's hand as he tried desperately to hold the door closed. It traced slowly up his arm to his chest, then his chin. But no, Gora's scream was not even vocalized. He could hear a sweet whispering voice from across the door. It wasn't coming from the wedge, but judging by the sound of the voice, it was a young woman. But there was no difference in the fact that it was a voice from one not of this world. The
教えてね。終わったら。ありがとう。もう終わってるのね。
Oh no! That obscene arm burst apart, and they heard the sound of something jumping around the room at an incredible speed. They didn't know what it was. It could be fast, small, like steel or maybe a beetle. When it buried itself right in the center of Goda's chest and stopped. For the first time, they realized that its true form was something like a stake with a strange design on it. God damn it, Goda is down. George? Shannon? Better hurry! Goda's large body shook, bent backwards, and fell over. As it did, the door opened softly, even though no one was pushing it, and the new masters of this room were welcomed in. It looked almost as though the door itself had accepted them. The gold attendants entered one after another. 6 of them. Then that witch entered, and the gold butterflies entered. The room was wrapped in a blizzard of gold leaf, which fell and piled up, turning it into a world of gold.
Shannon, ルーレットはそなたとジョージを選んだ。解放の日に感謝せよ。
Shannon, George, come here.
未練はあるまい？ないよな。惚れた男から婚約指輪をもらって夜も共にしないうちに殺されてしまっても未練なんかないよな。女の幸せを教えてもらいたかったんだろう。 シャノン、ダメダメ、垂れてるぜ。お前の口元から未練がだらだら垂れてんのが見えるぜ、シャノン。
Crack. It was the sound of the lid to the treasure box breaking and opening. George turned it over. Out fell accessories, charms, very small objects that Nati had treasured when she was a girl. Mixed in with those was a pouch that stood out from the rest. He picked it up and checked it immediately. This was it.
見つけた。これだ。
いいって及ばなかったの。死ね。
くそ。
All at once, the gold butterflies attacked George, who was painfully slowly trying to remove the content of the pouch. Just then, it seemed like, for just an instant, a bright red flash lit up the room. That red flash seemed to wipe out the gold butterflies that were raging around the room, within a circle drawn with Sean in the center. Eh? Therefore, it was a very divine scene. Almost as though a single streak of light had cut through the clouds in the ceiling, in this world of gold. George, who was curled up in a ball trying to protect himself from the group of butterflies, didn't have a clue what had occurred. Then, he noticed that Shana was blocking the way to him, shielding him, with a serious face that she had never shown him before, as she glared at the witch and the rest.
忘れていた。そなたもまた金蔵の優れた家具だったな。それもカノンよりだいぶ熟成した。
カノン君をよくも殺したことじゃない。よくも亡骸を消し去り、その名誉まで汚そうとしたな。
おやおや、シャーノン、それを怒ってるのか。カノンに会えなくて寂しいならわらわに頼めよ。いつだって会わせてやるというのに。
When the witch snapped her fingers, one of the 6 gold attendants glittered gold and changed on Kano. It was definitely a sight to make one doubt their eyes. It was definitely Kano's face. However, in those eyes, there was none of that sincere glint of Kano's. There were only the clouded eyes of furniture that did nothing but obey the orders of the witch. George couldn't understand the scene right before his eyes, and he finally understood why Gora and the rest had been unable to talk about what they had seen in the servant room.
楽しいですか？
ああ、楽しいぞ。死が引き裂いた2人を再会させるのはいつだって楽しい。死で引き裂いて1度、合わせて2度、もう一度引き裂いて3度楽しめるのだからな。さあ、カノン、姉と遊んでやりなさい。もし痛めつけられたら思いっきり苦悶の表情を浮かべてやるといい。
From the impostor Kanon's arm, a strangely shining trail extended. He planned to tear Shannon apart with that. Shannon, who still hadn't prepared her heart, apart with a single stroke.
許さない。一度ならず 二度までも死者を汚すなんて許せない。
ほざくな。弟に殺されろよ、シャノン。きっといい夢が見られるぜ。
As the imposter Kanon drew several purple trails, he definitely had attacked Shannon. But when he flew at Shannon, it felt like some kind of invisible wall had been set up in front of her. A bright red ripple trail was left on the wall, and it repelled the imposter. No, it didn't repel him. It smashed him. It knocked him back, turning him into golden dust, into pieces, scattering him. The figure of the foolish furniture, who had mocked Kanon's form, and even disgraced his honor after his death, broke into countless gold butterflies. And then those butterflies themselves broke into pieces. And those pieces were broken into pieces, until they were no longer butterflies, but a spray of gold, and disappeared.
Shadow.
And Beatrice thought that this was gonna do the trick. The wall basically destroyed fake Kanon so easily, it wasn't even a contest.
ジョージさんはそこから動かないでください。中心軸をずらしたくない。
これは驚いた。虫一匹殺せない面をしてこれだけの力を見せたか。なるほど。霊境がそなたに力を貸しているというのか。しかしその霊境の本当の力を引き出すには準備も時間も足りないな。そのどちらもわらわは与えはせぬ。
The spirit mirror George gripped was letting out a divine radiance, and displaying its strength not to submit to wicked power. But that radiance was no match for the witch's sinister nature.
これだから家具は怖い。
Damn it!
予期せずしてタンスの角にぶつける足の小指のような気持ちよ。これだから家具は怖い。家具が。家具。
私は家具じゃない。そしてあなたを今はとても哀れに思う。
何？ほう。1000年の魔女に100年も至らぬ家具が今何と言ったか。
あなたはとても哀れな人。愛し合う二人に未練がないわけがない。でもあなたの期待するような未練はかけらほどもない。
語るか、家具の分際で。ジョージと結ばれたくてわらわの靴を舐めた日々を忘れてわらわにそれを語るか。
愛に生き泥濘を這うが人間。それを嘲笑い見下しているつもりであなたはそれにはるかに劣る。私は今こそあなたを哀れに思う。愛し合う二人にとって添い遂げることにどれほどの意味が。意味はある。きっとある。でもそれはあなたの言うこととは全然違う。もっと新鮮にして、あなたごとき邪悪が口にする資格もないほどの新鮮な意味がある。だから私にはすでに何の未練もない。ジョージさんと愛を誓い合った。その証として指輪を受け取った。それで永遠の誓いは完了した。あなたがどんな邪悪な魔法や悪意で私たちを災難だとしても永遠は汚さない。
Wow. She burnt you real good, Beatrice. I can practically see the steam coming out of your head. You are becoming angry.
綺麗事を詩人のように語るな。愛は情欲なんだよ。少女漫画見たく綺麗事ばっかりで語れねえんだよ。男どもはお前の匂いに惹かれて群がるウジバエどもなんだよ。そんなこともその年でまだ理解できねえのかよ。お前は失望するぜ。その後ろのメガネ男のどす黒い欲望、一度でも覗いちまったら、がっかり愕然唖然呆然、全然ダメだぜ、ショーノン。ああ、もういいや、語るな家具が。この家具。何様のつもりだよ、語りやがって。愛なんて結局はど汚ねえ汚物をどう綺麗に見せようかって欺瞞なんだよ。そいつに気づいて人は大人になるんだろう。死ねよクズ。家具スクラップ。お前を汚らわしいウジ虫に変えてやるよ。それでもそのメガネがお前を愛するか試してやるよ。そいつの愛のどぎたねえ現実ってやつを教えてやるよ。死ねよガラクタが。てめえが愛を語るんじゃねえ。
Jesus. The invisible column of light with Shannon at the center started to have bright red ripples drawn all over it at once. The wall did its best to withstand the invisible menace that was trying to corrode it from all directions.
なんだよそれは。抵抗してるつもりかよ。安っぽいんだよ、薄っぺらいんだよ。お前の綺麗事と同じなんだよ、見せかけだけの薄っぺら。見たくないものをベールで覆って隠してるだけなんだよ。まだわかんないのかよ。だから家具なんだよ、家具。ほら削られてるぜ。カリカリコリコリガリガリゴリゴリなんて薄くて情けないんだよ。お前のその薄っぺらな抵抗に比べたらパルミチャーノレッチアーノの方がまだ削るのに苦労がいるぜ。
The golden windstorm that covered the room gradually sheared away the walls of the column that protected Shannon and George. The bright red ripples frantically drew a pattern of resistance, but the wall was beginning to envelop the two, becoming instead a red wall spare.
庄司さん、ごめんなさい。やはり私には無理でした。
ありがとう。君は僕のために戦ってくれた。それだけで嬉しいよ。
As the column that had once protected them was assaulted and covered with a trail of blood-curdling red ripples, it contracted and began to suck the two of them up instead. Shannon grasped George's hand behind her, so George hugged her shoulders just as strongly.
なんだい。
最後に愛してるって聞かせてください。
さよ。僕は君を永遠